Allen Lund Company looks forward to seeing you at Matt's in March.
OOIDA, representing America's truckers since 1973, presents Landline Now with your host, Mark Redding.
Truckers are no strangers to crime, and many have been victims. That's what happened to a trucker passing through Arizona. He was assaulted and robbed at a rest area along Interstate 10, and he's not the only one. I'll speak with Cochise County, Arizona Sheriff Mark Daniels. Some small carriers have had trouble getting or holding on to customers over federal safety scores, but truckers can take action to reduce that problem. Alex Clark of CDL Legal says one way is formalizing pre-trip inspections. We'll hear from him today. And finally, Collin Long of OOIDA's Washington, D.C. office says there was a lot to like about last week's hearing at the House Highway and Transit Subcommittee when it comes to trucking issues. He discusses that and more with Scott Thompson. But first, the news with Scott Thompson.
Thanks, Mark. As promised, a bill that takes aim at a big frustration among truck drivers has been reintroduced in the House. The Trucker Bathroom Access Act is about as simple as it gets. It would not require any funding or any new facilities. It would simply require that shippers and consignees make their bathrooms available to truckers who are dropping off or loading up at their facilities. Congressman Troy Nehls of Texas is the bill's sponsor, and he raised the issue during a hearing within the House Highways and Transit Subcommittee last week. He said he's confident something will get done.
The bill is supported by a wide variety of truckers, unions, trade associations, and members of this committee. Last Congress, it was co-sponsored by 6 Democrats, including Congressman Pappas, Congresswoman Scholten, Representatives Babin, my good buddy right here, Van Drew, and Mann, representing several members on this committee. It is ripe for a markup, and I will be filing it as an amendment to the Surface Reauthorization Bill. So we will be getting a vote on this thing one way or the other. We'll get a vote on it.
OOIDA is among the groups supporting the Trucker Bathroom Access Act, and it's a bipartisan effort in Congress. Representative Nehls is joined by one other Republican colleague as an original co-sponsor, along with 2 Democrats. Meanwhile, another new bill in Congress would give tax credits to truck drivers who qualify. It's called the Strengthening Supply Chains Through Truck Driver Incentives Act. It seeks to create a refundable tax credit of up to $7,500 for current truckers who drive at least 1,900 hours a year. It would also establish an enhanced tax credit of up to $10,000 for new truck drivers and individuals in trucking apprenticeship programs. The tax credit would only last 2 years and would be available only to those who fall under certain income thresholds. The Strengthening Supply Chains Through Truck Driver Incentives Act has been introduced twice before. The 2023 version of the bill garnered just 7 co-sponsors. Meanwhile, support is growing for a bill in the House that would boost truck parking across the country. The Truck Parking Safety Improvement Act added 2 new co-sponsors this week, bringing the total to 30. If passed and signed into law, the bipartisan bill would allocate $755 million toward the truck parking crisis. To get your elected representatives on board with this bill or any number of other pro-trucker bills, head to the fightingfortruckers.com website. Time now for our weekly check on diesel prices. Last week's average jumped 2.5 cents to $3.59 a gallon, according to the Energy Information Administration. That's the second straight week the average increased following 3 straight weeks of decreases. Prices were up in all 5 major regions on the EIA survey last week, led by the Rocky Mountains, where the average jumped close to 6 cents. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy will be on Capitol Hill on Wednesday to talk transportation funding before the Senate Environment and Public Works Committee. With Congress currently working on a surface transportation reauthorization bill, they're looking for Secretary Duffy's input. The 2021 bipartisan infrastructure law is likely to take center stage as the Trump administration has pledged to scale back spending on climate change and equity programs. We'll have coverage of the hearing later this week, right here on Landline Now. Expect to hear a lot about tariffs this week. President Trump is slated to roll out a series of tariffs on Wednesday against nearly every U.S. trade partner, but details beyond that are scarce. The president is expected to unveil his plans tomorrow. These are separate from previously announced tariffs against Canada and Mexico, which are set to take effect in the coming days after 2 delays. In addition, 25% tariffs on auto imports will start being collected on Thursday and are set to expand to certain auto parts in the coming weeks. Meanwhile, the threat of tariffs is reflected in new cross-border numbers from January. According to the latest numbers from the Bureau of Transportation Statistics, truck freight valued at nearly $88 billion was hauled across the borders to start the year. That's an increase of 10% compared with a year earlier, and an even larger jump of 13% from the previous month. Cross-border freight hauled by trucks across the U.S. northern border rose by 7% year over year. At the southern border, truck freight went up by 13%. January's surge in cross-border freight may be linked to the looming threat of tariffs on Mexican and Canadian goods, with companies rushing to move those goods ahead of tariffs taking effect. We're on the road to recovery on the spot market, according to Truck Stop's Brent Hutto, who says the pressure in the marketplace is double what it normally is.
The marketplaces continue to gain strength for owner-operators, which is a great thing. And the reason why I know this is that load posting volumes increased 10% week to week, and they were when you and I talked last week, they were already up like almost 17%. Now they're up 26% above the 5-year average of how much freight is available in the spot market for the owner-operator. So, look, I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm just saying these are really good indicators for the optionality or the options on that you can take on freight and then the rates. So speaking of rates went up 5 cents, not 1 cent or 2 cents, but 5 cents from 242 to 247. And the big mover in the market has been flatbed over the last few weeks. It's gone up 18 cents, which is per mile. And this is with fuel, so it's always with fuel. But van increased 4 cents and refrigerated increased 2 cents. So all three major segments increased.
Hutto added that load availability increased across the board, with each going up around 6%. Close to 2,000 Daimler trucks are being recalled over a problem with the automatic emergency braking software. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says the problem may prevent the brake lights from working. Certain 2025 and 2026 Freightliner and Western Star trucks are affected. Authorized dealers will update the brake light software for free. Notification letters to owners of affected trucks will be sent out in late May. And finally, multiple people left last week's Mid-America Trucking Show with new honors in hand. OOIDA Life member Jay Hosty was honored at MATS along with Craig Daniels and Daryl Toll as this year's TA Petro Citizen drivers. Each grand prize winner received a $5,000 cash prize along with a $2,500 donation to his charity of choice. A plaque recognizing each winner will be displayed at a TA Express, or Petro stopping center of his choosing, with each location hosting a dedication ceremony. Meanwhile, the Women in Trucking Association announced that Kathy Blaze, a professional call hauler at United Road, is a recipient of the 2025 Driver of the Year award. Blaze was among 4 finalists for the award, which promotes the achievements of female professional drivers who lead the industry in safety standards and enhance the public image of the trucking industry. That's Lane Line Now News for today. I'm Scott Thompson.
Thanks, Scott. For years, states across the country have been slowly but surely moving away from split speed limits. Now, a bill in New Mexico would create a new one. That's why truckers based in New Mexico need to contact their state lawmakers about SB 226, which creates a speed differential that would reduce safety on New Mexico highways. We'll have a link on our website to where you can look up your state lawmaker's contact information, or you can call 505-986-4300. Marty Ellis and OOIDA's tour truck, The Spirit of the American Trucker, are at the TA truck stop in Mineral Wells, West Virginia. That's located at exit 170 on Interstate 77. Stop in, say hi to Marty, and join OOIDA for a $10 discount. Next, I'll discuss a series of rest area robberies targeting truckers with Cochise County, Arizona Sheriff Mark Daniels. Alex Clark of CDL Legal covers the problem with safety scores and getting loads, and Scott Thompson finds out why there's cause for optimism regarding the upcoming highway bill from Collin Long of OOIDA's Washington, D.C. office. We'll be right back. I'm Mark Reddick, and this is Landline Now.
Protect your diesel engine with Howe's Diesel Defender. Restore vital lubricity, eliminate injector deposits, and boost fuel economy by 5% or more. Power, performance, protection, all in one. Howe's Diesel Defender, available now.
Firestone's FD694 drive tire for long haul and regional applications now delivers 126,000 more removal miles than the Yokohama TY517 MC2. Contact your Firestone commercial dealer to learn more.
Are you tired of the IRS following you around like a dark cloud? Call 888-557-4020 and get your life back.
Landline now. Welcome back. Truckers are no strangers to crime. Many have been victims, whether from cargo theft or other property crimes, to something much more serious. And that is what happened to a trucker passing through Arizona in mid-February. He was assaulted and robbed at a rest area along Interstate 10 near San Simon, not far from the border with New Mexico. And he's not the only one. I spoke with Cochise County, Arizona Sheriff Mark Daniels about what happened and to get some advice for other truckers. Well, I've been reading about this incident involving an assault on a truck driver at a rest stop near San Simon back on February 15th. First of all, can you walk us through what happened and how you found out about it?
Well, here several weeks ago, we had a trucker pull into one of our truck stops, which is located on the Arizona-New Mexico state line area. Pulls in there about 10 o'clock at night. All we know is we received a 911 call from him saying he was being assaulted. It was disconnected. A few minutes later, he called back, and that was his last call. We heard the assault in progress where he was horrifically beat down. I'll just say that by an assailant, at least one. Our deputies arrived at the rest area, rendered aid. He was transported to a Tucson hospital where he was in critical condition. I understand he's still in critical condition. I haven't heard what's happened there, but I know it wasn't good. And so we've been working with the trucking community to eyes and ears for us on that. This is a transient crime. What I mean by that is we don't think it was anything that he knew. He walked into something that he did not plan or know, or I don't think he knew the assailant. At this point, we have nothing that connects that. So right now we're looking for an individual that obviously committed a very horrific aggravated assault in a rest area that could lead to death. I'll just say that's the kind of condition he's in. So we're asking the trucking community, if you hear something about this here in southeastern Arizona, let us know, let the Cochise County Sheriff's Office know, let your local law enforcement know. They will get a hold of us, but we need your help on this.
Now, as I understand it, there were two earlier robbery incidents that occurred in February of basically this year or last year. I can't remember which, but also at one of the rest areas there in that same area. Can you tell us anything about those incidents? Were they similar in nature?
Yeah, those were similar in the fact that what happened on the one, I'll just tell you. So we have a group that's going to, it looks like these rural truck stops, these rest areas where it's a scam. So what happens is there's people standing in line, Mark, where they're saying, hey, I just won the lottery. I'm here, want to share my blessings with you all. And there are a line of people. So he's giving out 2 $100 bills to people. And they're standing in line like, hey, I won the lottery too, and I'm sharing this blessing. Well, this truck driver pulled in, saw the gathering, saw the excitement, the energy, got in line also. As he got to the front of the line, the scammer, and I say scammer in a light way because these are violent people, actually made the comment, hey, I'll match whatever you have in your wallet, and because it's my blessed day, and I'm so lucky to be here. He opens the wallet. He has a large sum of money. At that point, they assault him. They grab his money. They go through his truck. When he got back up and realized what was going on, they had jumped in. This whole group of people in line were a part of this crime syndicate. They jumped in their cars, took off, and even directed the law enforcement and to an innocent person, saying that's the person over there. So it took us off their trail onto somebody that had nothing to do with this. We also had an incident where 6 in the morning, the truck driver was sleeping in his sleeper berth, came up, started banging on his door, saying, hey, this trucker needs help out here, help us. The trucker, half asleep, got out of his truck to do the right thing, started walking over. As they did that, they hit him in the back of the head, assaulted him, went through his truck. This was his last drive as a truck driver. He had sold his home. He was on his last trip as a career truck driver, had a large sum of money in the truck. They stole that. Again, another tragedy here in these rural truck stops here in my county. So we're asking the public, especially the trucking community, if you hear about these, you know more of them, let us know. Reach out to the Cochise County Sheriff's Office. We're easy to get a hold of. We're online. And let us know, or notify your local law enforcement, and let us work together on this, because we want to protect our trucking, our professional community out there that's bringing product from one part of the country to the next, and also as a partner in law enforcement.
Very quickly, before we go any further, you've mentioned several times getting a hold of your department. What is the phone number people should call if, because, a lot of these folks may see something and be out of your area, so 911 may not get them to the right department. What is a good phone number for them to call?
So I'm going to go ahead and give you my administrative number, and they can actually just leave the number for me. I'm Sheriff Mark Daniels. I'm the sheriff here in the county. The number is 520-432-9505. And just ask for Sheriff Daniels. My assistant, Veronica, will answer the phone, and there's usually a command level team in that office. But either way, get the number. We'll direct it to our major crime investigative team, because we want to find these are some violent people we want to bring into custody.
And again, 520-432-9505.
Yes, Mark.
Now, the way you talk about these, there's a lot of similarities in how these scammers or these people committing these crimes are approaching the situation. At this point, do you have enough information to know, or to to believe that these are linked incidents or connected in some way?
The latter one, or the first one I just spoke about, which was the latter incident of all these three I just described, actually, we don't have enough to connect them. We don't know if they're related or not. But we do have an investigative lead, a person of interest in the first assault. The fact is, he left his hat at the scene when they were scrambling to get out of there. We did a DNA analysis on that. We have identified an individual that we're calling an investigative lead at this time. If you go back to the Cochise County Sheriff's Office Facebook page, there's a picture of that individual. I would direct you to that page. Again, Cochise County Sheriff's Office Facebook page. Scroll down here, and you will see the individual involved in this. If you know him, you know his whereabouts, we need to find him. Call your local law enforcement again, or call us, and we will work with that whereabouts. We need to talk to him.
Okay. Now, are these happening? I know that there's like an eastbound and a westbound rest stop there near San Simon, near the border of the two states. Is this happening at the eastbound, the westbound, or are these incidents happening at both of those?
Well, they're both vulnerable for it. Let me just say that. They're both very rural rest areas. And most of your truckers know, between New Mexico and Arizona, as you're coming in there, that I call it the open scene. There's not a lot out there. And so the eastbound rest areas where we're getting most of our problems, I'll just tell you, these are non-camera rest areas. When it comes to that, we're working with the state and also our own team of camera operators to put some oversight on those rest areas, because these truckers go in there to refresh, relax, whatever it may be, and they need better protection of what's in there. I'll be the first advocate to say that.
Beyond these particular incidents that we've already discussed, have there been others at either of these rest stops, or any others involving truckers or other people beyond truckers who have been assaulted or robbed?
I just spoke to the sheriff in Yuma, which is located on the California-Arizona border, and they had an incident just recently too. And so I would ask all your truckers out there to be vigilant. Let's work together on this, because in a day we're saving lives, but we need the thousands of truckers that transverse our country roadways every day to work with us and get those tips to us. But I know Yuma just had a similar incident too. I will bet $100 bill that there's a lot of them going on in this country. If we can bring that together and find the victims that have been assaulted by these suspects attacking these truck drivers, we can make a difference here. We have to work together. That's why I came on your show. Okay.
Now, at this point, I know that you mentioned that these are not rest areas that have cameras or security devices like that. Have you got a plan, or are you taking actions to try and prevent further incidents? Should people simply avoid these rest stops, or is there some type of precaution people can take if they're in that area and they need to stop?
My biggest thing is, we are working with the state on that. Again, as I stated, we brought that to attention about the cameras. We also have our own very complex camera system that we have that we work with the border here. But again, we can insert those in those areas too. What I'm trying to say to you is, We're working on the prevention side of it, on the government side. But when it comes to protecting yourself, it starts with you, each individual. So be vigilant, especially at nighttime. That one incident happened at 10 p.m. at night. The other ones are very early in the morning. So they're praying at using the darkness as their friend. We want to make that our friend. So bottom line is, know when you get out of the truck, look around, know your surroundings. You see a group of people hanging out, just be really vigilant. In law enforcement, we do that every day, even though we don't get a little complacent too at times when we're off duty. But at the end of the day, we all need to be vigilant on that. And each person has got to make their own decision if they're going to pull into one of those rural rest areas, not just in Arizona, but anywhere in this country.
Okay. I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit about these rest stops. We mentioned that it's near the border. I mentioned that it's near San Simon, Arizona, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Give us an idea of roughly what size this is, what facilities or services there, how much truck parking, and so on.
Well, they're both good-sized truck rest areas. There's no doubt about it. They have the traditional bathrooms. They have the good parking, it's adequate parking. But that's about it. There's not a security man or woman walking around there. They have a caretaker that's really responsible to make sure it looks nice. That is not security. It might be some extra eyes and ears, but they're only there at a limited time of the day. We discussed that with ADOT also, which is the Arizona Department of Transportation. So, again, when you're there late at night, you are there on your own when it comes to being your self-protector. And that's why I say that. And in a lot of these rural rest areas, I can't speak for other states, but ours in Arizona, yeah, they don't have security walking around looking at you, making sure you're okay. We've also done some prevention as my troopers here in this county too, between the sheriff's deputies and troopers, we watch our rest areas very closely based on the fact that we know there's people lurking in there. So we're going through there late at night, and we're checking. If we see somebody suspicious, we're talking to them. And we want to put a lot of prevention on these because, I mean, they're in there doing the business that brings us quality of life in every community in this country. We want to keep them safe, too. Okay.
Sheriff, that's all that I have in terms of questions. Is there anything else that you want to add or you think that I did not ask about that I should have?
No, it's a good interview. Thank you, Mark. And I will say this to you, too, is the old slogan that it's becoming more prevalent in today's world of unknowns. See something, say something. Please spread the word.
Sheriff, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.
That was Cochise County, Arizona Sheriff Mark Daniels talking about a series of assaults and robberies happening at a rest stop along Interstate 10 near the town of San Simon, not far from the New Mexico border. Once again, if you have information, if you've seen something that could lead to the apprehension of a suspect in the case, please call the sheriff's office. The phone number for Cochise County Sheriff Mark Daniels is 520-432-9505. Again, that phone number is 520-432-9505. You can also go to the sheriff's website, cochise.az.gov/414/sheriff, or email the sheriff's office at sheriff-tips@cochise.az.gov. Again, that website is cochise.az.gov/414/sheriff, or the email address for the sheriff's office is sheriff-tips@cochise.az.gov. And of course, we will have that phone number and link at our website, landlinenow.com. Just click on the headline or photo at the top of the page. That's where you'll find all the website links, email addresses, and phone numbers we mention on the show. Again, that's at our website, landlinenow.com. I'm Mark Reddick, and this is Landline Now.
Dispatch, I picked up that load of steel, so I'm ready to roll.
Sounds good. Remember, we're getting paid by weight, so make sure to use a CAT scale.
I wouldn't weigh anywhere else.
Forget miss accuracy when your truck on a CAT scale.
Penske is the trusted source for quality used trucks. Whether you search our website, call our sales staff, or bid at our online auction, you are sure to find the right used truck for your business. Visit PenskeUsedTrucks.com to view our inventory and learn more.
Landline Now, welcome back. Some small carriers have had trouble getting or holding on to customers over safety scores maintained by the federal government. Part of the reason those safety scores cause problems involves flaws in that system. After all, a government watchdog agency once said that of the more than 200 factors the system tracks, only about a half dozen have anything to do with whether a carrier is actually safe. However, part of the reason the safety scores are a problem relates to factors that can be controlled by those small carriers. One possible solution, doing what Alex Clark of CDL Legal calls formalizing your pre-trip inspections. I talked with Alex a few weeks ago about that process. So, Alex, you've made the suggestion that people should formalize their pre-trip and post-trip inspections. But I want to kind of go to the beginning of this. It all started, and you had written a note to me about this, which I found very interesting. Started with a small carrier that you spoke to who lost an important account. And let's kind of start with, tell us something about this person's operation. What kind of operation do they run? What kind of a trucking company is it?
It's a long haul trucking company. They were working for Amazon. And they lost. They gained a couple of points over the score that Amazon makes you have, or they put you out. And I got talking to him, and just to be clear, this is I've talked to many small carriers in my job, and a lot of them aren't doing any sort of formalized. They're asking their drivers to do it. They're asking, that they go through the process, but they don't really have any way to see that it's done. And I mean, I know there are online sources, but that might be hard for some drivers. But you can find, just the pad and papers of a formalized walkthrough and check the box. This guy I looked at a couple of the inspections that he had. He lost them. One of them, the inspection, had 2 tires on the front steer at 1/32 of tread. And I'm like, you're joking. Did the driver do a pre-trip? I mean, did the driver do a pre-trip yesterday or last week? I mean, they don't necessarily go down below that level at breakneck speed. The treads, it takes time, and you should be looking at that every day, testing it to make sure if you're not sure. And he really couldn't tell me. He couldn't tell me if and so I'm trying to be as nice as I can, but I'm like, you can't let this important of an issue be up to your drivers to say, oh yeah, I did it. Because look, it's today in Kansas City, it's 0. Do I want to get out and take 10, 15, 20 minutes? Just like you said, you had to pump up your tire today. No, I don't want to do that. But you need to be required to do that. And he was very happy to hear this. I said, you need me to get on a call with your 10 drivers, or actually he has 40, but it's mainly this one side of the trucking company, and there's 10 drivers. I'll be glad to tell them. And you should put the old carrot and stick model into this routine. You get not just any bad inspection, because stuff can happen. But an inspection like that, where you look at it and go, you really didn't know both brake lights were out, or the brake light was out on one side and the headlight was out on the other side. You didn't know that, and you think they both happened magically in the middle of this run. Could have, but if you have that pre-trip inspection, you at least know that the driver is doing his due diligence. And if they miss a pre-trip, you can fine them. You can, have any sort of disciplinary action you want.
I want to go into a little bit more detail on the process of formalizing. You mentioned that you can get these pads. So are these like pre-printed pads that have the various parts of a pre-trip inspection written out on them?
Yes. And you can just go through and check tires, check, suspension, not necessarily suspension, brake lights, headlights. Do you have windshield wiper fluid in your windshield wipers? And do the wipers actually work? Or are they like what happens in my car sometimes after an ice storm? Part of it never actually hits the surface anymore. So it's just those kind of things. We're not asking them to get under there and open up the brakes, take off the tires, that kind of stuff. It's a simple walk around. And here's what I was telling him. A level 3, driver only, is most likely what most DOT want to do, but they are gonna just do a cursory glance walking around the truck. And so if they walk around the truck and a tire's flat, or especially if there's tread, if there's not tread, if there's the what do you call it when basically the wiring is coming out from under the tire.
Oh yeah, the steel belts you're talking.
Yeah. So they see that, and often those turn into a level 1 then, because they have something already. It's at least a level 2 now, and then you may end up with the full anal exam. So yeah, just to be graphic.
Well, it would seem to me if you've got steel belts showing up on your tire, you have way bigger problems than people not doing. I mean, you are in danger as of that moment when you move that truck.
Yeah, I see it. I see those all the time. And it's like, well, it could have just happened.
No.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I'm actually not a tire engineer, but I'm pretty sure that's a thing that's developing over time.
Yeah. When you talked about less than 1/32 tread depth,
yeah.
I mean, on a face, we call that clean shaven. That's incredible for someone to let it get to that point. But I know that there are a few folks out there that have that happen. I did want to ask you about one other part of this that you had mentioned earlier, which is we all have cell phones now that have cell phone cameras. And you had mentioned using that in conjunction with this form. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, a couple things. One, you take a picture with that form of anything that's off. Now, as a driver, and you set it down on there, and you can send it in to your dispatcher or whoever your driver manager is. If they don't do anything about it, that at least should give you protection from getting fired. Now, it might get the driver manager fired or mad at you, but it's one thing to just check it off and say, put on there that it's bad, but you actually need proof, and you ought to actually demand that they go and fix this before you go out. Because, and any carrier worth their salt should want you to send that stuff in. They shouldn't punish you for it. They should be happy, because those are big violations. Those are out of service violations, and can end up making you lose a client, like Amazon or any other client. Amazon's just the big bully in the whole process.
In a lot of ways. I'm kind of curious. This all started with your story about the one carrier you were working with. Do you know if they actually started doing this, and what were the results if they did? Actually,
it's only been a couple of days, so I haven't checked back. But yeah, that's why it was really timely for this call. But he definitely said that he was going to do it. And I'm like, because he's only a couple of points away from, so, you can get 2 or 3 clean inspections and be right back in Amazon's good graces. But then there was another thing, Mark, I did want to talk about if we have a couple of minutes. I don't know.
Yeah,
okay.
We got about 4 more minutes.
Okay. So I want to talk about do's and don'ts for drivers and having contracts with your drivers. I have seen people get out of really bad circumstances by their contracts. And one of them was a while ago, and I don't remember all the circumstances, but the officer actually rescinded all of his charges. in a case because she sent in all of these contracts or all the things that were listed. He had a driver in there who wasn't supposed to be there. The driver, while the not co-driver, this was just a guy, was in sleeper berth, and the guy jumped in and started driving the truck and got pulled over. And he didn't have a CDL. He wasn't a CDL holder. And so she sent in all these things that the driver had done, but the only thing that was written was to their driver, not the guy who was actually committing all of these falsities. And he didn't even have a CDL. So I'm like, you're not punishing him at all. They didn't give him any tickets or anything like that. I talked with the officer. I sent him her contract with his guys, and he's like, you know what? Let me talk with my boss. This is really bad. And it was all because she had these contracts that signed up. And I suggest everyone see a reputable attorney who does trucking and who does contracts like this, and have them, because, you know, a lot of your guys maybe are starting their own business, you know, a lot of these OOIDA drivers, and they go to their buddies first. Well, then it seems uncomfortable, and so you don't do it, but then you can't do it with anybody else. You can't just discriminate on who you do. And so I just suggest anybody thinking of starting up their own business and hiring people, buying trucks, that's a big investment, and you ought to have a contract with each and every driver. Just
even
like
if they're
boys.
Employee drivers, not just owner operators, to clarify.
Yeah, exactly.
We have about a minute and a half left, Alex, but I know there are a few do's and don'ts, things that really need to be included, things you definitely don't want to include. Can you give us just a couple of examples?
Sure. Again, like I said, who can ride in the truck? Can your 10-year-old go with you or not? Talk about keeping the condition of the truck in good shape. Can I have a dog? Can I have a dog in there? And I suggest, and this will probably get me booed out on the road here for the drivers listening, but I'm sorry, there should be contracts about whether or not you carry guns in your truck. I mean, because there are states that don't give a darn if you have the permits.
Well, Alex, we're out of time, but it's great information, and thank you very much for sharing it.
Okay, thanks, Mark.
You can learn more by calling CDL Legal at 913-738-4836 or by going to their website, cdllegal.com. Again, that phone number is 913-738-4836, and the website is cdllegal.com. And you can find all that information on our website, landlinenow.com. Just click on the photo or headline at the top of the page, and that's where you'll find all the website links, email addresses, and phone numbers we mentioned here on the show. Again, that's at our website, landlinenow.com. We'll be back in just a moment with more news and information. Please stay with us through a short commercial break. I'm Mark Reddick, and this is Landline Now.
At Truck Stop, we've built a better load board for carriers like you. Sign up today and access over 600,000 loads on the most trusted online load board. Learn why the best in the business rely on Truck Stop to make more money and start driving your profit today.
Capital Reman, the leader in remanufactured diesel engines and components, has partnered with OOIDA to offer exclusive member benefits. Visit capitalreman.com today to support America's transportation industry and take advantage of your benefits.
Since you started, what you've loved about trucking is the freedom. Heading out on your favorite route, a good driving song, and thinking about truck insurance. Well, maybe not that last one. That's why we're here. At OOIDA, we have a full range of truck insurance products, expert advice, and great customer service, helping you get the right coverage for your operation. Go to OOIDA.com, because your job is to drive. Our job is to help with everything else.
Landline Now, welcome back. Last week was a busy one. On Wednesday, the House Highways and Transit Subcommittee held a hearing that touched on a number of trucking issues, and the next day, the Mid-America Trucking Show got started at the Kentucky Expo Center. Collin Long, OOIDA Director of Government Affairs, was involved in both, and he joins us now to discuss. Collin, how you doing?
I'm tired.
Yeah.
Last week was busy, and I'm feeling it this week. But we continue working.
It's like running a sprint for marathon distances for sure. And we'll get to both topics here. Let's start with Wednesday's hearing in the House. They covered a lot of ground there. Louis Pugh, we've talked about it before here on the show. OOIDA Executive Vice President was there as a witness. I'm going to ask you, starting with what you liked from what you heard that day.
I like just about all of it, if I'm being honest. And let me explain that. Obviously, we have a number of issues. We prioritize for the next highway bill, which will be drafted here in the next 12 to 18 months. You know what our priorities are: truck parking, restroom access, better compensation for drivers. We heard all of those at the hearing, and that's become a pattern at TNI. And I think it's credit to Louis and to OOIDA as an organization for elevating those issues with members of the committee. And don't forget, this is the committee that has jurisdiction over a lot of our issues. So credit to OOIDA for elevating those issues to the point where we can't really talk about truck parking at TNI, about trucking wholly, the industry as a whole at TNI, without talking about things like truck parking and restroom access and improving training and driver compensation. The list goes on and on and on. And members of the committee from both parties touched on these topics. So we were really pleased that our reputation to have a major impact on TNI committee hearings involving trucking issues continues. But I think the real, maybe not the surprise, but the real outcome that we were most pleased about was a discussion involving size and weight increases. We knew others have priorities for the highway bill that's being written, including shippers and receivers and large carriers who want to see size and weight increases. We know that's a loser for truckers. I mean, our members have consistently told us that's a loser for truckers. You're forced to upgrade your equipment to remain competitive. Your rates don't improve. Your fuel costs increase as you're hauling more weight. It does more damage to the roads. So we really wanted to have these conversations at the TNI committee, and thankfully there were other witnesses who support size and weight increases, and I think it allowed for a really productive conversation. I happen to think we came out on top.
Yeah.
We prepared very thoroughly, and we made sure that there were folks asking really critical questions about what size and weight increases would do, especially for small business truckers and for professional drivers. So we really liked the outcome. We liked the discussion. We think we did a really good job, along with our partners who were testifying from the Truckload Carriers Association and the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. We did a really good job collectively to pour a lot of cold water on size and weight increases. And I think folks from the shipper community who went into this hearing thinking it would be their opportunity to make a pitch for size and weight increases ran up against a brick wall. And now they're probably recalculating their efforts because of how damaging a lot of the conversation was to those types of proposals. And now I'll shut up and let you ask more questions, guys.
Yeah, no, and it's interesting, and we could go any number of avenues, I think, from what you just said there, but the process itself, and we don't need to get too inside baseball here, but the process itself, when you talk about all these issues that are being discussed, they aren't necessarily, and I don't think that they are really at all, coming up organically, right, in the moment, in a conversation from these lawmakers. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes with you all meeting with these lawmakers and educating them on these issues. And to your credit, again, with what we heard, it seems like the majority of those on this committee, at least, this subcommittee, understand the lay of the land, understand what truckers are facing out there and the difficulties and some of these things that can help them along the way. So the process itself is paying off, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
It is, and I'm going to toot our horn for a little while.
Toot away.
It doesn't take a week to do. It doesn't take a month to do. In fact, that takes years to do. And if you think of who on this committee are some of the strongest voices for trucking, it's Mike Boss, it's Troy Nels, it's Sam Graves, it's Jeff Van Drew. The list goes on and on and on, because we've been working with those folks for years, and we've been, unfortunately talking about a lot of these issues for years because we haven't gotten them across the finish line. But we're in a highway bill reauthorization period right now, and that is when you start to deliver on a lot of these things. So we think we're in great position. We were so pleased to be able to participate in the hearing because I think no matter who you were and which side of each argument you were on, I think everyone came out of it thinking that was a really productive hearing. I think T&I deserves credit for bringing in a witness panel that certainly included Louis, but also was capable of talking about the nitty-gritty in trucking and giving elected officials a clear sense of what the landscape is out there in the world of trucking, and specifically from our perspective, what small business truckers need and what drivers need from the next highway bill. So all in all, everyone was really pleased. I mean, we're always happy when Louis gets to testify because he does such a good job talking about issues in a realistic way, in a way that members of Congress can appreciate the impact on our members. But I think this was kind of an exceptional hearing, and if folks haven't seen it, go check it out on YouTube. It's a few hours long, like they always are at T&I with so many members of the committee, but it was really productive, and I think drivers in particular will pull out a lot of items and say, oh, wow, I'm really glad these topics are at the forefront of conversations on Capitol Hill about the next highway bill.
Yeah, and some of these topics, truck parking is a good example here, have bills of their own that are dedicated to them. You talked about the highway bill there, and again, I don't think we need to get too inside baseball here, but some of these bills that are out there with truck parking as an example are very well could be kind of folded into the highway bill as we go here. Is that the one issue you're kind of looking at as maybe being the big one?
Yeah, I think I would say the truck parking bill is likely to be in the highway bill, which is going to be a major accomplishment. We still have some work to do over in the Senate. I mean, the House has made it clear they voted on this in 2013 and passed it with broad bipartisan support. So we suspect that's on a bit of a glide path. You don't want to take anything for granted, but a bit of a glide path in the House because we've done such a good job generating bipartisan support for it. We hope the same thing happens with our restroom access bill, which is on the verge of being reintroduced in the House in this new Congress with bipartisan support. That's another one where I think we made a really good pitch, and we've been making a really good pitch, and the hope is that we can work out some details and get that into the final bill. And other than that, we have to play a lot of defense, too, and that came out in this hearing as well. No speed limiters, no minimum insurance increases, no side underride guards. So it wasn't all just proactive. A lot of it was defensive, and I think we did ourselves a big service in our fight to prevent a lot of those entering the highway bill by participating in this hearing and being very clear and concise in our message and our members' position on all these topics.
Before we let you go, Collin, we got about a minute here. Okay. Again, you followed up that hearing with a trip to Louisville for the Mid-America Trucking Show. Just your overall sense of how it went, what you were hearing from people, and I guess the general vibe there.
A lot of folks wanted to chat about English proficiency. That's something we're pushing CVSA to enhance because if drivers aren't capable of reading signs that are alerting them to potential hazards, that's a problem. And I think that resonated with a lot of folks at MATS. I heard a lot about economic uncertainty. I mean, we're in a world of kind of tariff whiplash, and whether you support that or not, it's having an impact on the economy. And I was actually surprised to hear from so many truckers saying, we need predictability. I wasn't surprised. I mean, I know this is the case. I was just surprised that folks were so forthcoming saying, we need predictability, we need certainty, because we've been waiting for the freight market to rebound, and we don't want any sort of delays to that. So we'll continue to navigate an uncertain future as far as the economy is concerned, but MATS was great. I always enjoy going, and this one felt particularly fun and engaging. So I was happy to be there, but I'm happy to be home and take it a little easy this week.
Yeah, we appreciate your time. Go get some rest, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Our thanks to Collin Long of OOIDA's Washington, D.C. office for his time, and our thanks to you for yours and for all you're doing out there to keep America moving. We're back tomorrow with another show. Until then, take care and drive safe.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe. If you want more content, go to landline.media to get updated news, information, and archived editions of our show. Once again, that's landline.media.
I'm a dad,
a son,
a husband,
wife.
I'm a writer,
photographer.
I farm.
I'm a veteran.
I love old cars, fishing,
my kids,
chrome,
and I am
a professional truck driver.
And together we are OOIDA.
OOIDA was founded by truckers to stand up and speak on behalf of truckers. We've done that by combining the individual voices of our members into a single, powerful voice. Protecting your interests, defending your rights.
Join us!
Make your voice heard. Join OOIDA, the Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association. Call 1-800-444-5791 or visit OOIDA.com.